We're live. Oh, hello, and thank you, and welcome to the post-match Wallystream. My name is Tom Savage, and you are watching/listening to TRK Premium. Thank you very much for joining me. And it has been a win for Munster up in the sports ground. Final score: Connacht 14, Munster 19, and that was a very high-quality away day performance. I just think looking back, and I've watched bits and pieces of the game back again, just the control that we had from halfback, the amount of, I suppose, just quality decisions that were made for the vast majority of the game were, for me, the where the game was won and lost here. Forward dominance, which we had. I'm just looking at the quality of our defensive stops were really good. I thought that we hurt Connacht quite a bit in the carry, especially when we got into their half of the field. We were constantly making ground, constantly getting gain line. When you're doing that, you're in a position then we were able to kind of start hurting the opposition. And we did so. Got a number of penalties, kicked them all. Just very clinical. And, looking at the overall statistics of the game, we ended up with more possession, especially roughly going on the second half. I think is where we kind of bossed territory really and possession over the course of the last, I'd say, bar the Connacht try. I think we looked pretty comfortable for most of the game. We made a few errors. Now the quality of our kicking, when it wasn't JJ Hanrahan, I thought was pretty poor, and that's an area where I think we'll be looking at. But overall, there's not a lot wrong with this performance, because again, I think Connacht weren't great. They picked quite a strong side, and they'll be disappointed. It's because there's lots of stuff from their point of view, just from the outside looking in at where their game is strong. I felt that their work at the breakdown was very poor. Munster did a great job there, in fairness, and we got away with a few subtle rolling across the ruck and giving our likes of Cloutey and other fellas in there a chance to start slowing down ball. I thought Chris Cloutey came back in, had a great day at defensive breakdown. That was a key part of the game for me. He got in, won two really crucial turnovers, especially right there at the end. Overall, look, I'm just thinking that this is a very, very a great day for Munster with regards to this conference. Looking at the other teams in Conference B, we beat Connacht, Edinburgh lost, and Scarlets lost. So from Munster's perspective, this weekend couldn't really have gone much better, except maybe getting a bonus point win here and denying Connacht one. I thought they were good value for their losing bonus point. But overall, I think when you look at the young lads who came in here, the inexperience that there was at in our back three, at 9. Off the bench with the likes of Knox coming on, who had he had such a good game coming off the bench, man. My God, it's in that scrum penalty that he ended up getting the win on it. He just drove through, split right through Buckley, right through. I think it was. I'm not sure who was on the field for them at that point. I think it wasn't Heffernan, but he went straight through Delahunt and just brutalising. That scrum could have kept going. Absolutely mighty stuff from Keenan Knox. Looked really physical around the breakdown as well when he came on. He looks like he's really, really developing as a player. But I suppose, in the aftermath of this game, the people, the guy who people want to hear about is Craig Casey. He's a guy who has been showing up in my mentions for not just since last year, since the Six Nations last year, before that even, when he was still playing in school. I remember watching a game with him playing and just noticing just the quality of his pass, the range on it, and just the maturity of him. And that was the big thing here in this game. He came in, he started his full debut from the start, and you wouldn't know it. No mistakes. His handling at the base of the ruck was really confident. His approach to the breakdown was really smart. There was no time when the ball was hanging around waiting for him to come there. He was always there. His service was reliable. It was quick. It was sharp. The only quibble I have with his game was the box kicking, which was not poor, but again, there was one or two poor ones, but the rest of them are average, one or two good ones. It was the only area of his game where I was thinking, that obviously needs a little bit of work. I was talking about that in the podcast earlier, or last night, but I just thought his performance here was very smooth. And one thing I loved is that there was no hanging around at the breakdown when he got there. He had his target picked more or less before he got there. And when he was getting hands on the ball, just the confidence and just the banks when he was getting that ball away. Really, really impressed. I liked what I saw from him. JJ Hanrahan got man of the match on the day. Not a surprise, look, he has had a very tough couple of weeks with regards to the opposition that he's been trying to navigate around. I don't think there's too many sides in Europe better than Racing 92 and Saracens. And JJ has been the man there who's come in. And, I suppose you could say he came into this in the pecking order wise. I think he's still behind Carberry in some regards with regards to what we've seen Carberry ceiling at and where JJ is at the moment. But when you look at quality of performance, I just thought in this game here, I thought his ability to move the ball around, his kicking choices, his overall decision, bar one at the end where he kind of threw the ball wide, where I think we needed to maybe keep it in hand or maybe try and kick the ball down into the other half of the field or drive it in, down the line. I just thought he was really good here, really solid. His goal kicking was great, and just a very calm, measured performance. And look, when you look at the guy, Conor Fitzgerald on the other hand didn't have a great game. I don't think he was poor or anything like that. I just think that he didn't have an opportunity to influence the game as much as he would have liked. Kicked some good goals. But I think when you look at Munster, the halfbacks there, I thought our halfbacks performed better. That generally will win you a game if you have forward dominance, which I think we did. That isn't to say our ball carrying it couldn't have been a little bit better. I thought Quinn, Rue, and Ultan Delan made some very good stops on us. And Bundy Aki won one or two good steals at the breakdown. I thought we kept him quite quiet for the most part. But when I'm looking at how Gavin Coombs played in the first 10 minutes, I was gutted to see him go off that HIA because he was looking like he was winning those collisions and playing with real aggression. So hopefully he'll get another shot. If he didn't come back on, he meant he failed the HIA, so he'll probably be out for a while. Not next week's game. I'd like to see him getting another shot because he definitely looked the business in that opening 10 minutes, winning collisions and stuff like that, which is what we need guys to do. And I thought he was very good there. Billy Holland had another very calm game too. Called a very decent line-out. Our line-out in general was flawless as far as I'm aware. When you have a line-out that is able to make you're consistently retaining your own possession, you will automatically be in a position to win games. When you're losing your line out, both on the offensive side of the game or on the defensive side of the game, when you're looking to try and exit, you're going to be under pressure. And I thought in that regards, I thought we had Connacht's line out read quite well. I thought that Jack O'Donoghue came on to replace Gavin Coombs and was close to man of the match for me. Look, he carried the ball well, made some good ground, ended up being a primary ball carrier for us. But his work in the line-out and his work in the maul is really of the highest quality. He's taking line-up ball. I did a big feature on him the past week on both the €2 tier and the €5 tier. Just looking at what his ability to kill mauls is just unbelievable. His body strength and his instincts and getting to those hinges and finding weak latches and weak lift points from the opposition. He was at it again today. Didn't even do the usual route of attacking in through the hinge of the lifter. He just stuck in there, and just when he sees that opportunity, he just goes. And he's got that fantastic ability to just, once he's latched, guys find it very, very difficult to pry him off. And he got a good maul sack. He was involved in another one as well that ended up getting turned over. He stole a line out. He had a very, very solid game, of real high quality. And again, look, I think the only part of his game is like the attacking side of the game, and I think that comes down to him taking the ball slightly wider out. I thought he played really, really well today. And I thought Chris Farrell too, another very strong game for Munster. Defensively, really, really big game from him on that side of the ball. But he moved the ball well, he carried well, beat defenders, got gain line. That's all. It's all good stuff. And Kilcoyne thought he had a slow enough game coming back. It was his first game back after a fairly long layoff, so there's not much of a surprise there. But overall, I just really I liked the look of what I've seen from pretty much everybody here. As in, I don't think there was anybody who performed overtly poorly. I just think there was a lot of high quality and a lot of guys who really put their hand up for kind of further opportunities, and that's all you want from your younger players, the guys to come in and I suppose to really make an example as to why they should continue to get the opportunities and to get the sort of the I suppose the minutes that they're all looking for. So I suppose that's going to be the big thing going forward from these guys. There's 2 more big interpros coming up. If I'm Craig Casey or if I'm Johan Van Graan rather, I'm looking at Craig Casey's game and thinking, geez, this guy, a lot of maturity there, and he certainly looked the business when he came on. I've got a few people going on about Connacht's crowd doing a lot of booing. Most crowds do that if their team is losing and they find themselves getting 1 or 2 penalties going their way. It's just a thing, Every home stadium's kind of like that when you're not playing or when you're losing rather. You find that decisions aren't going your way. It happens. I wouldn't hold anything against them for that. But overall, very solid performance from Munster. I thought our attacking structures looked okay. We didn't need to bring out an awful lot of that kind of game. We were, in some ways, I think Donnacha O'Callaghan was speaking after the game, but we won it in second gear. I wouldn't necessarily agree with that, but I don't think we needed to go. We never looked like we were going all out or that we were under any massive pressure, both offensively or defensively. I thought, when we were winning penalties, we were getting gain line. We were, I suppose, the last couple of weeks in that regard kind of stood to us, in that we didn't have to do all that much. We were playing quite clinically. When your line out is going well, when your scrum is going, 50-50. I mean, you look at some of the decisions that we got, bar the last one, we got 1 or 2 penalty decisions, you're thinking, geez, that could have gone the other way. Some of Connacht's ones, you could have thought, Jesus, that could have gone the other way as well. So, look, I think overall, just a very solid performance from Munster. One they'll take an awful lot of credit for because Connacht won't lose all that often at home this season. And when you look at how the conference went today, when you're looking at Munster beating Connacht, Edinburgh lost to Glasgow pretty much in the last minute, Scarlets lost to the Dragons pretty much in the last minute to unbelievable drop goal. And all of a sudden now there's a bit of daylight at the top of the conference. Munster on 29 points, Connacht on 25, Edinburgh on 24. Now, Connacht have a difficult trip next week. They're off to Ulster. I imagine Ulster are going to go quite strong there. Edinburgh are playing Glasgow again next week, so that is going to be a difficult one for Glasgow. I'd imagine Edinburgh will win that one, and Munster, of course, are playing Leinster. That's going to be an incredibly difficult game too. But I would imagine that there will be opportunities there, and if you're Johan Van Graan, all you can ask is for young guys to come in and to put their hand up and to make an example of themselves. Alan Tynan travelled with Munster today, and John Hodnett was there also. So I mean, usually when these guys are showing up on the match days, it means that they're close enough to getting an appearance. So we'll see how those guys go. But from Munster this week, going away to Connacht went pretty strong. I mean, if you just go down through the Connacht line here, I mean, it's not far off what they would have for a European Cup game. You got O'Halloran, Porch, Daly, Aki, Godwin. Jack Carty coming on, played pretty well. I think Connacht will be very disappointed because they had plenty of opportunities. They had a lot of opportunities on the ball and a lot of possessions. But I just think that they ran into trouble against Munster's defence, and the accuracy of their pass once they started to go wide let them down a few times. And I think that, Munster, when they look back at this, very, very high quality win. And, I just think that, like, when you look at guys, because there's a thing when you bring in younger players like this, because look, it's tough for younger guys to come in, and it's tough for younger guys to, I suppose, endure the pressure of these big games because, younger guys know they're going to get a bit of opportunity this week. Shane Daly spoke about it a little bit during the week that, sometimes when you come in, you're under pressure because you've got to try to earn game time back again afterwards. And, I just thought that when you look at all the young lads that we had out there today, roughly around 8, both starting and off the bench, I just thought they had a lot of high quality performances. Shane Daly, Calvin Nash, a few Calvin Nash's kicks went astray, all right, but I thought most, for the rest of the time, he looked very, very busy and was a hair away from finishing off that line-out strike move that we tried against Saracens last week, but didn't get that final pass away. I thought just going on the red eye, We didn't attack off the maul like I was looking at, but we did have one of those occasions where we narrowed in a key on the line-out. That happened a few different times, where we narrowed him in on Conor Fitzgerald, and that was a fairly handy one. But I just think that when you look at Munster's performance here, I think it showed because we've looked a little bit underpowered at times against Racing and Saracens over the course of the last block of 3 games, but I think that happens to the vast majority of teams that play Racing and Saracens because of the quality of the side that they have out. So I think Munster in this game showed that generally we do win collisions, because that was happening today against Connacht. They were soaking a lot of our carries. They were finding a little bit of hard work to get going, and when we got that platform, we were clinical in putting it away, and that's all you can ask for, really. And I think that this away win is valuable. It will age very well, because again, I'm not sure Connacht are going to be beaten all that much at home this season, and it sets us up well for the game against Leinster, which is going to be incredibly difficult. Looking at the teams that I imagine will be out for that, I think Leinster are going to go relatively strong for that game. They've got a few injury issues that they're minding at the moment, but I can't see them not going strong for that. I think that they, at the moment, they're going so comfortably in the Pro 14. I think they're looking at this as being an opportunity for them to get something that they missed out on last year, which was, they were beaten in Thomond Park. And so for Munster, I think we'll see Kilcoyne out again. Archer went through a lot of work today. He's a guy, he's not a guy who gets, he's not in the conversation when it comes to 45-man stock takes or whatever else. But I just think his overall level of consistency is good. I mean, he's not he's a good quality player, and if people stop judging him for what he's not, and this is something that I've done in the past as well, then you'll realize that he's a guy who is a real servant to Munster, and a guy who showed up for work today, and I think had a very decent game. Jean Klein as well, another fella who's had a rake of bad press. I thought he performed very well too. And, just looking overall, I think that the squad in general they'll be delighted because they've won this one. But I just think that the overall ability that they had to see this out and to actually just to stretch out the lead and to never really look that much in trouble, I think will stand to them. And it's one of those ones where a lot of the younger guys here, we look back on this in a few years and go, well, we saw there from Casey that he was a serious player. We saw there from Shane Daly that he's a very serious player. Even Liam Coombs, who I haven't mentioned yet, had a very strong game, I thought. He had 1 or 2 really good looks on transition. Defensive positioning looked pretty solid. Generally made some good decisions when he was looking to advance. I thought Dan Goggin had a decent enough game too. Look, there's lots to like in this game. The Wally ratings will be out at some point tomorrow. I'll be covering this game as well in different detail. I'll be doing a kind of a larger look at Munster's set-piece strike moves over the course of the next, over Christmas. So we'll be looking at that and kind of going from there. So thank you very much for joining me on this post-match Wallystream. I hope you enjoyed the win, and I'll be back to you soon. Post-match Wallycast will be out on Monday. And the Wally ratings will be out at some point tomorrow. I think we've got at least 1 or 2 5-star guys here anyway, so that'll be entertaining. So look, thank you very much for joining me. I'll talk to you again very, very soon.